Order. Order. I will call Deirdre Costigan to move the motion, and I will then call the Minister to respond. There will not be an opportunity for the member in charge to wind up, as is the convention for 30-minute debates. Order. Order. Deirdre Costigan to move the motion.
Thank you, Chair. I beg to move that this House has considered decarbonising homes and heat batteries. And it is a pleasure to serve under your chairship, Ms McVeigh. Chair, my constituents in Ealing Southall regularly speak to me about the cost of heating their homes. Gas bills have risen astronomically over the last few years, and in freezing weather like this, they're often afraid to turn up their heating in case they are hit with a massive bill. Indeed, research by the House of Commons Library confirms that the annual increases in gas bills in October 2022, it was the largest ever recorded, based on records going back to 1970. How did this happen, and what can we do to reduce people's bills? There is just, if you allow me to make some progress, there is one reason why bills have increased to such a degree. It is because we have become almost completely dependent on Russian gas, on gas internationally, in fact. So when Russia, a huge gas supplier, invaded Ukraine, this disrupted global gas supplies and prices shot up across the world. And as a country, we had put all of our eggs in one basket. 23 million homes have gas boilers, and 85% of us depend on gas to heat our homes. So we had no option except to pay higher prices. It's a basic mistake that anyone can see if they think about it. For years, we've lived off cheap gas until we were addicted to it. And then, when supplies were disrupted, we were left to the mercy of higher prices. I will indeed.
I thank the honourable member for giving way, and she is making a very strong point, and I thank her for bringing forward this really important debate. I represent a very rural area, Glastonbury and Somerton, where homes have depended on oil-fired heating systems off-grid, but there is a growing awareness about the transition to renewable alternatives. However, for some, this shift is often seen more of a threat than an opportunity. I have lots and lots of casework on the matter. So engaging consumers has to be a priority. Heat pumps are the lowest carbon heating solution, and therefore should reward homes for lower energy costs. So does the honourable member agree with me that the government should make rebalancing gas and electricity tariffs a priority to encourage more consumers to upgrade their heat pumps?
I thank the honourable member for the intervention, and I will come on to that point later in my discussions, and I know the government is giving this much consideration. Now, as I have... yes, I will.
Jim Shannon.
Chair, first of all, can I commend the Honourable Lady for her contribution? She's obviously and quite clearly making a name for herself in the House on this issue. Quick question. Does the Honourable Member for Ealing Southall agree that if we're going to reach our targets, then in particular we must assist homeowners, and particularly those who are older homeowners? And does the Honourable Lady feel that maybe this is an issue for the Government to financially assist so we can achieve the goals that the Honourable Lady wishes to have? Thank you.
Deirdre Costigan.
I thank the honourable member for his intervention and for his support for backbench business brought forward in this place, I think, which is very much appreciated by all members. And I certainly agree with him on the need for financial support, and I will touch on that later in my remarks, and I expect that the Minister will too, as there has been a significant move forward, I think, on this over the last 6 months. Now, Chair, I have explained that we have become, over the last number of years, addicted to gas. And that is the reason why my constituents in Ealing Southall are consistently paying higher energy prices and struggling to heat their homes. We should have started work on breaking our addiction to gas years ago by investing in our own renewable energy and by upgrading our homes to use that energy. But the previous government never had the bravery to take the scale of action needed. Instead, they actually stopped us producing cheap British-made energy by blocking onshore wind farms from being built and cutting funding for solar panels. The previous government also stopped us upgrading our homes to protect them from the rising cost of gas. They slashed grants for loft and cavity wall insulation and scrapped the zero carbon home standard for new homes. As a result, over 1 million new homes have been built with lower energy efficiency standards and paying higher bills than they should. And we continue to have the leakiest homes in Europe, with just 12,000 homes insulated last year, compared to up to 2.5 million a year under the last Labour government. Now, the Carbon Trust estimates that these decisions by the previous government have added at least £3 billion to UK gas bills. And that's why my constituents are paying through the nose to keep warm today. So what can we do about it? Well, thankfully, this new government is already taking action to wean us off gas. We've set up Great British Energy, ended the block on onshore wind farms, and kick-started our plans to become a world leader in floating offshore wind. These are the brave steps needed to ensure that by 2030 we become fully energy self-sufficient and 95% of the power we generate is clean energy, ending our reliance on gas and on decisions taken in Moscow. And when it comes to weaning our home heating systems off gas, the recent budget invested £3.4 billion as a first step towards the new government's Warm Homes Plan. As a start, 300,000 homes will benefit from upgrades next year, with grants for heat pumps and support for renters and low-income households. I will indeed.
Heron Moon.
I'd like to thank the honourable member, and I'd like to congratulate her for this important debate, and to note that it is incredibly disappointing that there's not a single Conservative MP that's turned up to listen to such an important debate. But does my honourable friend agree with me that she's just mentioned that part of the solution to our transition away from fossil fuel heating must include domestic network ground source heat pumps, but at a much broader scale, including social housing, but at a much broader scale. And those heat pumps are absolutely essential to this transition. In my constituency of Campbell, Redruth and Hale, we have the UK's largest producer of ground source heat pumps in Kensal, and they're ready, willing and able to support this transition.
Deirdre Costigan.
I thank the honourable gentleman very much for his intervention, and I'm well aware of the company that he mentions, and I'll be talking about them further in my remarks. They're a great example, I think, that we should build on. But as I was saying, Chair, that we do need to wean our home heating systems off gas in the same way as we need to wean the country off gas when it comes to renewable energy. And the recent budget, as I say, did invest £3.4 billion as a first step in the Warm Homes Plan. But heat pumps, which will benefit from some of this money, they are a great way of weaning us off gas. And heat pumps use electricity rather than gas, so they can be fed from homegrown energy from our wind and solar farms. But just 1% of UK homes use a heat pump, and that's compared to 60% in Norway. And that's a real indictment of the previous government's inaction. So it's fantastic that this government is systematically removing barriers to heat pumps. We've increased funding for the boiler upgrade scheme by £30 million this year, and we're doubling it from April. We're removing the need for other home upgrades before you can get that funding, and we're changing planning requirements and the 1 metre rule so that they're easier to install. But heat pumps...
Sarah Dyke.
Member for giving way again. A constituent of mine, Nicholas, in Sparkford, like many residents in rural areas, as I've already mentioned, on an off-grid oil heating system, desperately wants to change to a heat pump. It's going to cost him £19,000 to be able to transition over. The cost is just preventing so many people in rural areas taking that step to decarbonise their home. I appreciate the government is taking steps to help, but in rural areas, the cost is simply too high. What can the government do to help incentivise people who live in rural areas decarbonise their homes?
Deirdre Costigan.
Thank you to the honourable member for her intervention, I think as I've laid out, the government has already taken steps to increase the funding to transfer to heat pumps, and I'm sure the Minister will have more to say in relation to rural communities and the particular barriers that they will face. But I have to say that heat pumps, although they're extremely important in the move to wean us off gas, they don't work for every home. And an estimated 20% of homes are unsuitable for heat pumps. And we do need to do more to break down some of the reasons why people can be reluctant to choose them. Air source heat pumps need outdoor space for the pump. And many of my constituents in Ealing Southall live in small terraced homes or in flats. They don't have much outdoor space, so a heat pump isn't a viable or an attractive option. And many people have repurposed the space that used to house their hot water tank. This is where innovative British firms like Kensa in Cornwall and Tepeo in Reading come in. Both of these companies use heat batteries that use the same science that's behind the hand warmer packs to store thermal energy until it's needed. Tepeo's zero-emission boiler, called ZEB, uses a heat battery that automatically buys energy at cheaper times of day and releases it when required, reducing energy bills. You don't need an outside pump, just a box about the size of your current gas boiler. Because of their small size and ability to plug and play without needing to do replumbing, heat batteries are a good solution for heating homes in built-up urban environments like London, and including parts of Ealing Southall. Now, Kensa uses shared ground source heat loops that are connected to whole streets or blocks of flats. So the energy is connected from the ground, produced in networked heat pumps in each of the linked houses or flats, and then stored in Kensa's SunAmp heat batteries. Again, no outdoor space is needed. And on top of this, it replaces the need for a hot water tank. I will indeed.
Tom Hayes, and can I just remind members, interventions are concise and not speeches.
Thank you, Chair, and I thank my honourable friend for bringing this topic to debate. I've been lucky recently to visit Kensa's air source heat pumps in Chelsea Sutton's dwellings, but also Tepeo's factory, and it's great to see their CEO here today. Would my honourable friend agree with me that for heat batteries to enjoy the same penetration of the market as heat pumps, it's important that they benefit from VAT relief and also from the same levels of subsidies in order that we can decarbonise our heating?
Deirdre Costigan.
I thank my honourable friend for the intervention, and I would absolutely agree with his points, and I will come to exactly those points later in my comments today. In terms of the Kensa approach, it is also using ground source heat technology aligned with heat batteries. It's also a cheap and efficient way of rolling out heat pumps at scale. And I know my honourable friend mentioned a visit that he has made, but as another example, Kensa have replaced direct electric heaters with shared ground loops alongside heat batteries in over 270 flats across 3 tower blocks in Thurrock, and residents' bills there have been reduced by over 60%, which I think is a huge saving. So both of these technologies can wean us off gas. And they're also examples of the kind of British manufacturing and innovation that we need to support to create good quality jobs. But barriers remain, and I hope that the Minister will consider ways of addressing them. Heat batteries...
David Chadwick.
I'd like to thank you for giving way and bringing forward this important debate. My constituency has one of the highest levels of off-grass grid properties in the UK, with over a third of my constituents dependent on heating oil to keep their homes warm. So does the honourable member agree with me that it's absolutely vital that the government bring forward plans to help off-grid homes decarbonise, not only to help the environment, but to help bring their bills down too?
I thank the honourable member for his intervention, and I'm sure that the Minister will have more to say on this when she comes to her marks in response. To return to heat batteries in the UK currently face a significant disadvantage compared to heat pumps, as they're not eligible for a grant under the boiler upgrade scheme. I know the Minister is continuing to look at how she can maximise the benefits of the scheme, and I hope she will also look at whether new technologies like this can also be supported. Heat batteries are also not on the list of energy-saving materials that qualify for VAT reductions, unlike heat pumps. Considering extending VAT relief to heat batteries would help heat those 20% of homes currently missing out. I've written to the Chief Secretary to the Exchequer to ask him to consider reducing VAT for heat batteries, and I hope that this is something that the Minister might work with him on considering. Barriers to networked ground source heat pumps that use heat batteries also include planning considerations and the need to adopt a street-by-street approach that can upgrade hundreds of homes in one go. I know the Minister has already committed to changing planning rules for air source heat pumps, and I hope she will consider whether changes also need to be made for networked ground source pumps, and that she will include networked heat pumps allied with heat batteries in the forthcoming low carbon flexibility roadmap that I know she's working on. To give certainty to British businesses investing in innovative technologies like heat batteries, we need to ensure there are consistent heating requirements for new homes being built. And I know she will shortly be bringing forward the new Future Homes Standard to end the scandal of gas boilers still being installed in new homes. And I hope that the standard will include heat batteries and other emerging technologies. I'll give way.
Gideon Amos.
Grateful to the honourable member for Ealing Southall. It's very generous the number of times she's giving way, and a really genuinely important issue she's bringing to her House. She mentions the Future Homes Standard. Would she be interested to know a calculation that I carried out that if every new home built since 2015, when the Conservatives cancelled the Zero Carbon Homes programme, had solar panels on the roof, we would have saved around 30 megawatts of energy, electricity, enough to obviate the need for an entire gas-fired power station. And I hope she would support the, as a complement to what she's arguing for, solar panels on every new house, which my constituents in Taunton and Wellington cannot understand why is not already a regulation.
Deirdre Costigan.
I thank the honourable member for his intervention, and I think the answer to why we haven't already got solar panels feeding into our energy system to a much greater degree is because of the last government, as simple as that. But can I end my remarks, Chair, by continuing in terms of the points I was making regarding some of the changes that I would like the Minister to consider. I would like the Minister finally to think, lastly, around heat pumps and heat batteries and the way they both currently use electricity. And electricity, of course, can make them more expensive than gas boilers, and this is one of the big barriers from consumers. Now, it sounds strange, but the way the market works, the price of electricity actually depends on the price of gas. And it surely sounds unfair that heat batteries pay levies on the electricity they use, but those levies aren't paid back when and if they feed back into the grid. So we do need to look at the electricity market to see if there are ways of splitting off the price of cheaper renewable energy from the price of gas and of reflecting the true value of energy storage. I hope to hear more from the Minister on this point as part of the review of the electricity market that I know she has committed to undertaking. Chair, every family and business in the country has paid the price of Britain's dependence on foreign gas markets. Retrofitting homes with the help of heat batteries is just one of the range of actions we need to take to bring down bills and keep Britain's leaky homes warm. In just 6 months, this government has already made huge advances in increasing our energy security, and I look forward to hearing more from the Minister on her plans to harness new technologies to protect the cost of heating our homes from decisions made in other countries. Thank you, Chair.
The question is that this House has considered decarbonising homes and heat batteries. Minister.
Thank you, Chair. Can I start by thanking everyone for the insightful contributions that have been made today, and to thank my honourable friend, the member for Ealing, who I know works hard for her constituents for bringing this issue to our attention. My honourable friend is absolutely right to point to the inheritance that we are grappling with. The reality is that for too many people, energy is simply unaffordable. Now, that is a reality that the last government were willing to accept. It is not a reality that we think is tenable and that we are willing to accept. Every voice, every piece of new technology and every benefit must be considered as we try to reduce our reliance on gas and make our way forwards towards clean power by 2030. So I thank her for the research that she's doing and the work she's doing on heat batteries. Heating our homes via low-carbon means is key to our efforts to tackle not just emissions but fuel poverty and the high cost of living that we know is biting across the country. As we enter the colder months of 2025, we are acutely aware of the financial pressures that families are under when they are heating their homes, which is why it is of critical importance that we continue to move quickly towards cheaper, cleaner and more secure methods of heating homes for everyone across the country. Our government was elected on an energy promise. That promise is to deliver warmer homes with lower energy bills for families across the country. Decent homes are the foundation of decent lives, and our Warm Homes Plan is driven by a simple principle. Every household deserves the security of a home they can afford to heat.
Will the Minister give way?
Noel Law.
Thank you, Minister, for giving way, and I welcome my honourable friend's debate on this important topic. The Warm Homes Plan is that the government is currently rolling out is particularly welcome for those of us in Cornwall with poor energy efficient homes. And I'd like the Minister, if you can, to outline the steps that she is taking to accelerate this rollout so that as many households as possible, particularly those of vulnerable elderly people and as well the youngest who actually have access to the worst insulated homes can feel the immediate benefits.
Minister.
Thank you to my honourable friends. I will go on to outline the steps that we're taking because we recognise that this is critical to dealing with the challenges that we know are happening across the country. But I just want to emphasise why we got here, and I think my honourable friend made this point very well. Let us remember that Putin's illegal invasion of Ukraine exposed our country to our egregious over-reliance on international gas markets. When prices rocketed, the British people suffered. That's why we have made it a central plank of this government and our strategy to reduce our reliance on gas in 2 ways. First, we want to reduce the reliance of gas within the electricity system. And the Prime Minister's, one of its key missions is to make Britain a clean energy superpower. We have taken immediate action, lifting the ban on onshore wind within our first 72 hours in government, setting up the new mission control at the heart of government, setting up Great British Energy, a publicly owned company that will invest in clean, homegrown energy. But second, and this is where this debate is so important, we want to reduce our reliance on natural gas used for directly heating our homes. Over 80% of UK homes currently use gas, one of the highest proportions in the world. Cleaner heating is therefore a huge part of Britain's path to energy independence. And the good news is we think that if we get this right, and there's a lot that we need to do to get it right, it is also a route for us delivering cheaper energy for people's homes. Whilst other technologies like heat batteries have a role to play and might have a role to play, and I'll come on to say more about technology specifically in a second, We already know that heat pumps can be effective and affordable way of moving forward. We know that heat pumps are 3 times more efficient than traditional gas boilers. And because they run on electricity, people can achieve lower bills by integrating them with smart tariffs. And I think to the point that was made by the Honourable Member, we understand that there is more work that we need to do to make sure that people who make the choice of having clean heat, that it is cost effective. And thinking about the balance between gas prices and electricity prices is a key part of how we try to do that. Heat pump uptake is increasing. The figures for the boiler upgrade schemes showed that the number of applications and redemptions in October 2024 was the highest of any month since the scheme began. And critically, to the honourable members that have raised the key question of rural communities and of homes that are off-grid, we think that they are a viable option within rural communities. And 54% of bus grants actually went to homes in rural communities. So consumers agree with us. We now need to make it as easy and viable as possible for people to go on that journey. And this is why we are announcing and we are putting in place a raft of measures in order to help us accelerate the pace of our Warm Homes Plan. We have removed the outdated 1 metre rule, giving households more flexibility to install heat pumps. We are almost doubling the boiler upgrade scheme budget for next year to 295 million. And we're looking at further ways in which we can make the upfront cost of installing a heat pump much cheaper, drawing on some of the real innovation in the market, like Kenza, which my honourable friend mentioned. We're supporting the supply chain by introducing a reformed clean heat market mechanism on the 1st of April this year. And we're investing over £5 million in Ideal Heating as the very first award from our heat pump investment acceleration competition. And we're doing the critical job of training up installers through our heat training grant. But let me come to heat batteries. We recognise that whilst heat pump will be the solution for many households, and we need to make sure that it is as easy and as affordable for those households as possible to install, we also recognise that for some households it will be the right solution. And so, we also know that the landscape is changing massively with new innovation and technology coming into train. That's why I can confirm that the government is keeping several alternative energy, electricity, heating technologies under close review as the supporting evidence develops. And, for us, this is about taking a technology-agnostic view on the market, pairing the most suitable technology with the home. We do recognise that heat batteries are a promising alternative electricity technology. That's why we launched the Homes for Net Zero project, which is aiming to monitor the performance of net zero project of up to 50 heat batteries in existing homes. And the results of this we're expecting later on this year. And the key thing for us as we make the decision is whether it is a good deal for consumers. Is it efficient? Is it cost effective? And does it deliver the right outcomes that we need to see in people's homes? But what I will say is, as we build that evidence base and as we build our confidence that it is the right proposition for consumers, we will look to review the policy framework, including subsidies, as we move forward. And let me end on the Warm Homes Plan. The government is committing to being bold and ambitious to deliver the progress that we know is so badly needed on this agenda. And we were elected, we were really clear that we needed to get straight back to work with the Warm Homes Plan. So in September, we announced plans that would lift over 1 million households out of fuel poverty by consulting on the minimum energy efficiency standards for all rented homes. We also announced new schemes to help low-income households in particular, so homeowners and private renters through our Warm Homes local grant and our Warm Homes Social Housing Fund, which applications closed for last November. We have confirmed £1 billion from the National Wealth Fund, Barclays Corporate Bank and Lloyds Banking Group to support housing associations to provide warmer, more energy-efficient homes. And in November, we went further. Alongside the policies I've talked about, we confirmed initial funding for our Warm Homes grant, which means that next year up to 300,000 homes will benefit from upgrades backed by £3.2 billion worth of investment. And in December, we worked with housing colleagues to launch a major consultation on EPC reforms, which aims to deliver fundamental improvements so that the system better supports both consumers and our wider ambitions. And if I may, Chair, let me conclude by saying This government understands the urgency of the situation. We are moving at pace because we understand this urgency, which means that we are open-minded and we are collaborative. We're willing to work with anyone that will help us drive the transition at the pace and the scale that we need to. And I hope my honourable friend, the member for Ealing, can see that this is absolutely at the heart of the approach that we're taking. And I look forward to working with her, with industry colleagues and with other members across the House to think about the innovation and the steps that we need to make progress on this agenda. So that in the end, we do the thing that we were elected to, which is to ensure that we are delivering that energy promise that we committed to.
Order. The sitting is suspended until 2:30.